And we're continuing a series based on this book, The 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership. Now, last week somebody asked me, why are you using a book that's not spiritual? Well, I can tell you that I've done leadership from the Bible, and it works. But this book is not only works, but it's very relevant for today. And our goal, my goal, is for us to transform our lives and encourage others to transform their lives. And if we embrace the commitments that are in this book, we will have transformed lives. And so last week we talked about the line, and you'll see on the front cover there's this line. And we said that at any given time, in every interaction, with every thought, we're either above the line or we're below the line. And when we're above the line, and it's not bad or good wherever we are, it just is. But when we're above the line, we're open, we're curious, we're committed to learning. But when we're below the line, we're closed, we're defensive, and we are committed to being right. I don't know if anybody else has found themselves there. I certainly have. When we are below the line, we are in survival. Our ego is in the driver's seat, seeking safety through control. So today we're exploring commitment 2, which is learning through curiosity. This is the art of staying open when the world invites us to close. It's a practice of trading our expertise for the beginner's mind. With this space below the line says, I commit to being right and to seeing the situation as something that is happening to me. I commit to being defensive, especially when I'm certain I am right. None of us have been below the line before, have we? But when we're above the line, we move into through me consciousness, Spirit working through me. We become open, expansive, lighter. We're aligned with divine mind. Our commitment is a sacred vow of growth. And the language for above the line, the affirmation is, I commit to growing in self-awareness. I commit to regarding every intention as an opportunity to learn. I commit to curiosity as a path to rapid learning. Now, you want to know, why is curiosity a spiritual trait? Well, going to Matthew 13, Jesus said, truly I tell you, unless you change, hear that word? Unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Now, in our tradition, metaphysically, we understand that the kingdom of heaven is not a closed, gated community in the clouds. We understand that the kingdom of heaven is a state of consciousness. It's the realm of all good. It's the realm of wholeness, abundance, and peace, which are natural. When we become like children, it's a metaphysical instruction to return to the state of pure, unadulterated curiosity. Think about a toddler, and look at that little boy. Nancy got a great picture. When a toddler sees a bug on a leaf, they don't judge the bug. They don't try to prove that the bug is wrong for being on that leaf. They don't worry about whether that bug likes them or not. They don't worry about if they're winning the interaction. They are simply profoundly interested. They are in the state of, I don't know, and isn't it wonderful? Now, I have been conditioned, and I think many of you have been conditioned to believe that knowing is the source of our safety. We think that we have to have all the answers. And if we have all the answers, we won't get hurt. But the truth is the opposite of that. The more we think we know, the less we leave room for God to move in our lives. When we defend our rightness, we build a wall around our hearts. But when we embrace curiosity, we dissolve those walls and we step back into the kingdom, into the flow of life itself. Our co-founder, Charles Fillmore, once said, we should not allow ourselves to be limited by past achievements or by any present observation. The spirit of progress is the Spirit of God. So if you and I want to embody the spirit of progress, we must be willing to let go of what we thought was true yesterday to make room for the truth that is unfolding right now. You know, the first step in this commitment is to realize and to recognize the heavy burden of being right. Being right is exhausting. It requires constant vigilance. It requires us to scan the environment for any threats. Need to look out. There's something coming. When we're committed to being right, we're below the line. Physically, this manifests as a clench. And you can feel it in your jaw is clenched. You can feel it in your gut when your gut's clenched. Your fist, when your hands are clenched. Your world shrinks because you can only let information in that confirms what you already believe. That is such an amazing idea. That when we get all caught up in being right, that our world shrinks because we can only let in information that confirms what we already believe. And I have an illustration of two architects, James and Sarah, and they were tasked with restoring a magnificent crumbling cathedral. Now, James is an expert on Gothic architecture, and he studied it for 30 years. He knows what's right about every stone and every arch. And when the master mason comes and points out that the foundation is shifting in a way that James didn't predict, James feels attacked. His identity is tied to his expertise. He dismisses the mason. He hides the data. He defends his original blueprint. He is right, but the cathedral is still falling down. We've actually had some examples of that in our world where the architects didn't listen. Sarah, on the other hand, loves architecture, but she loves the truth more. So when the mason brings her the news, she feels a surge of curiosity. She thinks, what's happening? I've never seen a foundation behave this way. What is the earth trying to tell us? What new engineering marvel is required here? Sarah's above the line. And because she isn't defending her ego, she's available for a new idea, for a new thought. She collaborates with the mason. And what they find is that there's an ancient underground spring that is causing the shift. And they create a revolutionary drainage system that preserves the cathedral for almost another 500 years. And I am wiggling, I guess. In your life, where are you, James? What are you so busy defending? What blueprint? The blueprint of how your marriage or your relationship, how it should work? How the church should look? How your career should go? Or how your children should behave? None of us are guilty of that, I know. Because we get all caught up in that because we miss the divine feedback right in front of us. To be honest with ourselves, we all drift below the line. And drifting is a natural tendency of the human ego to slide below the line when we feel scared or tired or unappreciated or angry. And drifting isn't, well, it can be, but it's not usually a dramatic explosion of anger. More often, it's a sneaky retreat from the situation. It's a retreat into the shadows. Have you ever found yourself spacing out during an uncomfortable conversation? Because you didn't want to deal with an uncomfortable truth? Have you ever noticed yourself playing on your phone or watching TV compulsively for hours? That's a drift into numbing. Now, sometimes the drift can look like sarcasm, and that's using wit as a weapon to stay above others, but you're still below the line. And then there's complaining and whining. None of us would do that, would we? But we do know somebody that does. It's focusing on what is wrong to avoid the curiosity of what is possible. And of course, there's explaining. We have to explain ourselves. We're desperate to make sure that everyone understands why we did what we did, and we don't want to lose their approval. Rushing is another way we find ourselves, believing that there's not enough time. We rush from one place to the other to keep from facing things. Sometimes our below the line behavior is making our value dependent on the opinion of others rather than our oneness with Spirit. And let's not forget drinking and drugging. They are external substances that we use to numb ourselves, stay below the line, and not deal with curiosity, with what is going on in our life. And the good news is that our body has given us a built-in navigation system. The body never lies. Before your mind even realizes you've drifted into sarcasm or explaining or rushing, your nervous system has sent you a signal. When you drift, you begin to feel a knot in your stomach, maybe a lump in your throat, a heaviness in your chest. These are not signs that you are bad. These are pings from the divine saying, my sweet child, you've slipped below the line. It's time to shift. And guess what? Shifting is so easy. Our bodies will help us shift. All we have to do is take in a deep breath, wiggle our toes, maybe soften our gaze, physically move our bodies. And then we ask the question, what can I learn here that I didn't see before? And of course, there is the point of the point in this commitment is the realization that every person we meet is our teacher. And, in New Thought, we believe in oneness. We believe we are all one. And that means there's only one life, one mind, expressing through billions of different masks, all singing a beautiful song. When someone frustrates you, they are often holding up a mirror to a part of ourselves that we have judged or rejected. And when we stay below the line, we judge the mirror. We judge that person. That person's a joke. They're so lazy. When we move above the line, we get curious about the reflection. I don't know, did any of you see the movie A Man Called Otto with Tom Hanks? It was a really good movie. And if you haven't seen it, I invite you to go home and look for it on a streaming service, because it is this lesson in a movie. Otto is king of being below the line. He is certain he is the only person who knows how to park a car, recycle a can, or lock the gate. He spends his days complaining, explaining, and being sarcastic. He's miserable because his commitment to being right has isolated him from the world. And then there's this young woman who moves into the neighborhood, Marisol, and she is the embodiment of commitment too, of being curious. And she doesn't take his sarcasm personally. She doesn't get defensive when he yells. Instead, she is relentlessly curious. She asks him, "Teach me how to drive." She asks him for help with a radiator. She looks past his grumpy mask and asks, who is this man really? Her curiosity eventually uncovers the truth. Otto isn't a jerk. He is a man paralyzed by grief. By staying above the line, Marisol's curiosity invites Otto to shift. She sees the divine in him until he is finally able to see it in himself. So who in your life is Otto? Who's the person you've written off? What would happen if you traded your judgment for curiosity? And is Otto yourself? We have to look at that. We have to look at our own self. I had a friend named Elena, and she had been in 3 businesses that she failed at. And she was below the line with her story. I'm just not a businesswoman. I'm a failure. I'm broken. But she decided to become curious. And she sat down with a journal and she said, what is the common thread here? And as she looked at it, she saw that in each case that it was administration that was just killing her. That she loved working with people, that she liked helping her coworkers with their problems and help teaching people. Her failure wasn't a lack of talent. It was divine feedback. Spirit was trying to tell her she's not meant to be an administrator. She's meant to be a therapist. She went back to school, became a therapist, and had a thriving practice. You and I have to get comfortable in living in the I don't know. In our below-the-line state, uncertainty feels like a threat. We want to label things good or bad immediately. But divine mind works on a much larger scale than our human ego. And we know that story about the farmer who had a horse that ran off, and everybody said how bad it is. And then the horse came back with 7 wild horses, and everybody said, oh, how good that is. And then his son got on a horse and broke his leg, and everybody said, how bad is that? And each time, the man kept saying, we'll see, We'll see. Soldiers came through the village and took all the young men. They overlooked his son. Villagers said, "How good is that?" He said, "We'll see." He was committed to curiosity. He didn't get upset. He just waited. We'll see what's going to happen. So as you move back into the world this week, you'll be tempted to drift below the line. You'll find yourself scrolling through your phone to avoid a difficult conversation. And when that happens, don't judge yourself. Just notice it. Take a breath. And remember our affirmation. I commit to growing in self-awareness. I commit to regarding every interaction as an opportunity to learn. I commit to curiosity as a path to rapid learning. When you're curious, you're no longer a victim of circumstance. You're a co-creator with Spirit. You're no longer broken. You're an unfolding masterpiece. Just like in our song. You are moving above the line where the kingdom of heaven is not just a promise. It's your present moment reality. So I hope as you leave this week, I hope you remember the line. And I hope you remember I can either be down here and all closed off, or I can be above the line and open with curiosity. Resilient, open. For in that wonder, you will find the divine. And that, my friends, is really the truth.